Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit, celebrating the 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity. My name is Jana Larsen, and I am the Human Resources Director and a coordinator of the Economic Justice Campaign of We the World, as well as many other things for We the World. Today, I'm excited that we will be joined by Audrey Kitagawa, Steve Farrell, and ShaRon Rae, who will be talking about unity. For the full 11-day schedule, you can register for free by going to we.net, and you can see replays of the recordings. You can also make a contribution to support We the World by going to we.net. Thank you. Now, let's bring in my co host, Rick Ulfik. Rick Ulfik is the founder of We the World at we.net and the co creator of 11 Days of Global Unity. Welcome, Rick Ulfik.
Thank you, Jana, and thank you all so much for joining us. Welcome to the annual 11 Days of Global Unity Summit, featuring visionary leaders and activists working for people and the planet, and a world that works for all. Our summit panels on each of the 11 summit themes range from unity to environment to human rights, freedom, and peace. I and we are deeply grateful that you are helping us to celebrate the 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity. Before we bring on our extraordinary speakers, I want to acknowledge some of our amazing partners who we support and collaborate with during 11 Days of Global Unity and all year round. The UN International Day of Peace NGO Committee, the UN Summit of the Future, the Unite for Peace Coalition, which includes Unity Earth, Peace Week, the Sign Network, One World, We the World, Humanities Team, the International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation, the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence at Cathedral St. John the Divine, Pause the World in Times Square, and Pace e Bene, Nonviolence Campaign and March. What an amazing movement representing literally millions of people working to achieve global unity, all working with We the World and the We campaign at we.net. On today's panel, we are discussing unity. And now I'm excited that we will be joined by Audrey Kitagawa. Audrey Kitagawa, JD, is president and founder of the International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation, president of the Light of Awareness International Spiritual Family, and chair of the Anti-Racism Initiative and the Gender Equality Working Group of the G20 Interfaith Forum. And she is a longtime ally, partner, and friend, as well as a frequent participant and supporter of We the World and 11 Days of Global Unity. Thank you so much for joining us to help celebrate the 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity. And welcome to the broadcast, Audrey Kitagawa. Audrey.
Hello, everyone. I want to offer my congratulations to Rick Ulfik and We the World in this its 20th anniversary celebration of global unity. During these 20 years, Rick has made it a point to help everyone move from the insularity of the I to the we as an important process in achieving global peace through the recognition that through the community of we can better work cooperatively together to achieve solutions to our global challenges for the common good. Three questions were posed to the presenters today. The first is there are many concerns about the growth of polarization and intolerance, as well as the weakening of cultural bonds like we consciousness and the common good. The consequences of disunity are already affecting humanity's ability to properly address our greatest challenges, like, for example, climate disruption and the functioning of our democracy in the US. And the question is, would I be able to speak about what I am passionate about on this topic? Political divisions in the US have dominated the news cycle, exacerbated by fast-paced and often unchecked social media platforms. And the use of the language of degradation, retribution, and authoritarianism has created a sense of alarm that appears to threaten democratic processes. The demonizing through misinformation and conspiracy theories solicit emotional reactions and further polarization that can jeopardize lives and creates unease, not only within the country, but has created fear on a global scale as well. Climate change is a global issue that everyone has a stake in. Without a healthy Earth, we are all in jeopardy of losing our health and well-being. Addressing the environmental crisis requires unity of purpose, but politics and extractive greed for the exploitation of natural resources can distort facts. And in these trying times, we must be voices not only of advocacy, but also of inspiration. And we look to leaders who can inspire us and speak the words of peace, harmony, and cooperation. In 2015, Pope Francis delivered a powerful address about climate change at the United Nations General Assembly during his first visit to the United States. Noting that human beings are part of the environment, he said, any harm done to the environment is harm done to humanity. He went on to say that every living creature has an intrinsic value in its existence, its life, its beauty, and its interdependence with other creatures. He called out the selfish and boundless thirst for power and material prosperity that leads to the misuse of available natural resources and to the exclusion of the weak and disadvantaged, calling it a complete denial of human fraternity and a grave offense against human rights and the environment. He further spoke of the unifying and holistic power of universal values and principles and the ability of spirituality to capture the essence, core, and the interrelated nature of all issues. Our new stories must be based on a foundation of spirituality and reflect a multicultural perspective. Such a perspective has the potential to weave disparate components into one cohesive whole to create a rich tapestry of wisdom, practices, and solutions. The second question posed is what challenges have I faced in fostering unity across different cultures, ideologies, and social movements? This important question addresses the challenges of deeply ingrained history and cultural traditions that have been resistant to change. And beyond the obvious language and cultural differences, every culture has unique traditions, values, and nuances that affect interactions. Stereotypes and biases on both sides can impede effective communication, and racism and discrimination intersect with many of the other cultural issues. The differences between political and ideological beliefs add another layer of complexity that can lead to tension and conflict. As a woman working in many countries around the world, those countries that have deeply entrenched patriarchal histories have been quite challenging. I have, for example, been restricted from entering some of the most sacred religious sites in the world. And this has a lot to do with the disparity in power dynamics that sees the woman, and especially women of color, marginalized from leadership roles and being able to fully participate in important rites and rituals that have historically been reserved only for men. And the third question asked is, how have I been able to overcome challenges that I've faced in fostering unity across different cultures, ideologies, and social movements? Overcoming the barriers to interaction and fostering unity requires those of us engaged in this work to develop deep understanding, patience, and acceptance, being open to all others. And interactions with people of different cultures requires cultural sensitivity and embracing the beauty of diversity. It also requires understanding when faced with cultural roadblocks, as these barriers are often based on deeply held, strongly reinforced attitudes that are part of people's cultural heritage and beliefs. As any human interaction, we must always remember that we can change ourselves and how we approach life. We can treat people with compassion, kindness, and love, regardless of their culture, ideology, or beliefs. And this opens up the possibility of dialogue, which is a critical component of cross cultural efforts. The works that we are privileged to do are not only without challenges and obstacles, but they must be pursued diligently, focused on the well being of others. And we must be willing to support efforts to ease suffering and conflict and work toward a world of harmony and peace. These works must be carried out in the spirit of seva, or selfless service, without expectation of any personal reward or gain. And the gift of service is not about self aggrandizement or recognition, but something much more important. As stated by Mahatma Gandhi, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. In this sense, having a higher purpose and meaningfulness in life through loving, selfless service serves a higher calling of the we together and not the singularity of the I. Thank you so much.
Wow, yeah, thank you, Audrey. Okay, let's hear from Steve Farrell. Steve Farrell is co-founder and worldwide executive director of Humanities Team, a nonprofit organization based in Boulder, Colorado. The organization is focused on helping people throughout the world awaken to their deeper self and the interconnectedness of everything in the universe. The producer of the annual Global Oneness Day in October, Steve has for many years been a partner and friend, as well as a frequent participant in 11 Days of Global Unity. Thank you so much for joining us at this 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity Summit, and welcome to the broadcast, Steve Farrell.
Rick, thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. My pleasure and privilege to be here with you. And I too want to congratulate you. A 20th anniversary is huge. It's a nonprofit. That's 20 long years. And running a nonprofit with the vision, strategy, the cash flow, yes, all of these things. It's a big job. It's a big lift. And huge congratulations to you and your organization, Rick.
Thank
Truly.
you. And you know, as I mentioned with Audrey, she mentioned some of the topics and questions that we wanted to address on this panel. Can you please address some of the consequences of disunity in our society, like political polarization and having an us versus them kind of culture of intolerance that we see a lot in the USA, and what are you doing that helps to address this? And as Audrey was talking about, what challenges have you faced in this work? So thank you, Steve.
Yes, I would love to. This is the big, these are the big questions for us too. So I'm really pleased to be here to discuss this. So what are the consequences of this polarization, division, disunity, etc.? Well, all we have to do is look out the window. Truly, that's all we have to do. Look out the window. So on an individual level, what do we see and know, right? Even among family members, neighbors, coworkers, right? This sense of overwhelm, exhaustion, fatigue, weary, grief, anxiety, sometimes depression, right? Not everybody, but many people. Now, what's causing that? Okay, some of what's causing that is this looking out the window, right? As we look at extreme weather, which is CO2 emissions, which we don't have under control at all, overuse of land, water, resources, division, which is what I'm addressing here specifically. So we call this in humanities team our Galileo moment. Our Galileo moment. So why do we call it a Galileo moment? Well, as you probably know, Galileo was an esteemed scientist, physicist, astronomer in the early 1600s, right? And at that time, not only world beliefs, but canon, so church beliefs that were held close, was that the earth was the center of the universe. Now, Galileo was an astronomer. He had a telescope, looked up into the night sky, day sky, and could see that the earth was not the center of the universe. He brought back his research, that it's part of a solar system. The solar system isn't at the center of the universe at all. And he published these findings. Now, this was a very dangerous time to publish findings that the earth was not the center of the universe. He was put under house arrest and was told that he'd be killed if he didn't renounce his research. So he did in order to save himself. And other people had telescopes that had made the same observations and could see that even though he renounced his research, that this was true. The earth was not the center of the universe. And so the world changed. Literally, the world under our feet shifted in that moment as people came to understand that the earth was not the center of the universe at all. Galileo was under house arrest to the end of his life, however. So in a sense, you had one man pay the price of sharing what ultimate reality was and carrying that burden right to the end of his life. And that one man then did us all a huge favor because we came to understand our proper place in the universe. Now, today, okay, this division, polarization, disunity, these belief systems that are causing all of this individual challenge and collective challenge. Mystics down through the ages, as we know, have shared of the unity, the oneness, right? The universal consciousness that animates all of life. This has been around, Hippocrates and Plato, for gosh sakes, in 450 BCE, 2,500 years ago. Said there's a universal consciousness, a unity, a oneness that embraces all of the cosmos and universe, right? And then the most esteemed scientist in the whole world, even to this day, probably Albert Einstein, said in 1921, so over 100 years ago, he said the greatest illusion in the world, it's this illusion of separation, okay, which is disunity, which is not oneness, right? Over 100 years ago. And then here, of course, other Nobel Prize winning physicists came along, Erwin Schrödinger being one of them, others, David Bohm, Max Planck, many others that were 20th century that were sharing the same thing. And now in the 21st century, there's an explosion, right, of science that's saying, there is, in fact, we are deeply connected with each other. This is a deeply interconnected universe, right? Even a universal consciousness, again, animating all of life. Consciousness, even at a cellular level. So I'm saying explosion because there are articles we're seeing all the time in humanities team. science, research that's sharing, just like in Galileo's time, telescope up, pointed up at the heavens, that no, this notion that we're separate and we don't affect each other, this is a false notion, right? Now, here's the problem. We don't have one person, man or woman, that can just carry that burden today and just stand up and say this separation thing is it's not true. It's not real. Because there are many, including, I mentioned, scientists who are publishing their research saying it's not true, but it's not doing the job. So it's a Galileo moment in the sense that it's all of our job. It's the job of tipping point. That's 10% of the global population. That's 800 million people. To just simply live into this reality that science is affirming is true. And as we know, Buddha 2,500 years ago, right, and Christ 2,000 years ago, this was their teaching, right? It was the teaching that they walked around with, this teaching of oneness, of universal consciousness, where we treat others as ourself, right? So others have embodied this teaching back over eons of time. So it's been modeled for us. So now, all that is being asked of us, and this is what Humanities Team is doing, as we're a 501c3 nonprofit, is saying, hey, what? Let's just simply live into this research, which is sharing of what is ultimate reality, this deeply interconnected world, this universal consciousness that's animating all of life, where we see that there's actually no separation between creator and created, just to make it real easy. No separation between creator and created. And of course, everybody that's watching this probably gets that. We're on this same spiritual journey, this conscious journey. This is probably part of our daily practice already, where part of what this means, and again, Buddha and Christ certainly demonstrated this, is that we're aspects of each other. So the sharp elbows go away. We still tell the truth, but we don't have to share it in some hard to hear way. We can share it in a loving way, in a caring way, in a supportive way, in an open-hearted way, in a we way and not a me way, which is what we, the world, is all about. That's what this is. It's this evolution from little self, where we walk around in this false belief. Now we're being told by science that we're just separate, we don't affect each other. And that me is this body that goes to dust at the end of its physical life. Well, we understand that actually that isn't true either. I won't try and get into all of that, but that there's an afterlife, and there's a physical life, a non-physical life, and that we live beyond just this one physical life, and that we're a part of this larger body that we can call universe or cosmos, or dare I say the divine, and that where we live into this oneness, aspects of each other, and where it's aspects of each other, of course, we're going to be open-hearted and in service. It's the we, not the me. The bigger self, the higher self, is what we evolve into. So this is our work in Humanities Team, is to invite ourselves to the best of our ability. And I'll get to the last part of your question, is what are my challenges in this, but is to embody this and express this, not with perfection, because we probably can't do that. Not always with excellence, because we probably can't do that either. But to the best of our ability, okay, we can do that. To the best of our ability, we embody this teaching of this we, this bigger self, this higher self, this larger self that science is telling us is a reality. So now, as to my own challenges, there are numerous ones. So I'll start with myself, of just living this to the very best of my ability, and just as I'm inviting others to. So there are homeless people. There's a homeless shelter near where I live. Well, what does that look like, Steve? There are other people, my coworkers, my family, my son who has a severe case of OCD. So Steve, what does that look like? These are aspects of me. So one is living into it myself to the very best of my ability. Now, in my role as co-founder and executive director of Humanities Team, it's candidly, it's to find ways like through this program and other programs that we can come to where we can, sometimes this term is used, smell the coffee, right? Where we can talk in kind of this smell the coffee way, Galileo moment of, the massive challenges that have been created by this style of living where we think we're separate, and just talking about the science, the spirituality of this way of living, this larger self, bigger self, higher self way of living, is getting word out. So this is what we were called to, was by 2040, so that's 16 years from now, to make this what we call in conscious living, conscious of the science, right? Embodying it to the best of our ability. So make this pervasive worldwide by 2040 in 16 years, 800 million people. Well, that's a huge calling, right? A huge calling. That's what I focus on every day in my job here in Humanities Team, is to invite people in to live this. And so we can remedy and heal this individual challenge that I spoke of and these collective challenges that I speak of. Because here's the thing is, when we live as this in this we space, in this higher body, higher self space, bigger self space, is we naturally look after the basic needs of the planet. We naturally look after the basic needs of people. That's what it means to be aspects of each other, right? That's what conscious living is. So, and it's not that I can do everything or that any of us can do everything, but we can all do something. So in our daily practice, we're drawn to those things that we're called to them, just all of us here. We were called to these roles that we have. So we're called to these roles. And then as we have budget to put solar power on our roof, we do it. As we have budget to buy a hybrid or electric car, we do it. As we have budget to help the homeless, we do it, right? I can go right down the list. This is what it means to be conscious, is we want to, our highest prerogative or priority is life, nurturing life, supporting life, the planet's life and people's life. So I'll leave it there.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve. And let's hear now from ShaRon Rae. ShaRon Rae is founder of the No Judgment, Just Love global movement. She is a life, family, executive coach, and peacemaker. She compassionately helps families find solutions to challenges. And she is the Unity campaign leader, as well as working on partnership development for We the World. Welcome to the broadcast, ShaRon Rae. And as I mentioned with Steve and Audrey, can you please address some of the consequences of disunity in our society and what you're doing that helps to address all of this, and what challenges have you faced in this world and in this work?
Thank you so
And it's
much.
so good to see you.
So good to see you too, Rick. Always, always. First of all, congratulations, Rick. 20 years is a long time to do anything. And to do it so well and consistently, and what inspires me with We the World and you being the founder and the catalyst for it is that consistently people come in and they go out and they flow, but they're inspired both by you and the mission of We the World. I think I've been around with you for 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. And it just is impactful that something about you and something about this movement inspires people to continue to come for 20 years. So congratulations. Audrey and Steve, what an honor to be on this panel with you. I listened intently Audrey, to you. Your global perspective is inspiring to me. I'm in a smaller container right now, looking at a smaller part of the world, and to be available to hear you expand my thoughts to larger spectrums is really satisfying. So thank you. And Steve, you speak my language, sir. Um, we do need to understand that we are all connected, and that the Earth's survival is intrinsically attached to our survival and vice versa. And so how I'd like to speak on this topic, Rick, is centering it down to the person. My work with No Judgment, Just Love, which is, by the way, an invitation to an ideal. It is impossible for us not to judge. I know that. But when we do make judgments, what I ask is that we take a pause and really uncover, seriously uncover what you're going to do next. Are you going to do next something that heals yourself and other people, or harms yourself and other people? Very simply. And if you cannot uncover something positive to do, then stay in the pause, because that inspires and helps us as well. Not only are we all connected in the language and in the science, included in the science is energy. And we are all sparks of this one large energy, which gives us the ability to have individuality, which gives us permission to think different thoughts from our other 8.5 billion sparks. And what I find that causes the divisiveness, the resistance to listening to someone else, the even rejection that we are all one, is that we have not yet, many of us, spent time with the person that you're with 24/7, and that's you. Because in order to be unified with anyone else and act in unity, you have to be a healthy component of that collaboration. And many people, at least in the world that I live in, which is the United States, in our divisive politics, in our divisive cultures, which can be different, because we haven't taken time to understand that we matter individually, not to the exclusion of everyone else, but absolutely not to the exclusion of ourselves. And with all respect to Gandhi, who I adore, I would add a preamble to his "Lose Yourself in the Service of Others." And that is to find yourself first, so that you can get lost in the service of others without judgment, without resentment, and without feeling guilty that you're not doing for yourself. So Rick, to answer the question about what do I see that is the problem, that is the problem. We would like to be unified in our work in the environment. I do believe that that is not a reality that we can live in, because we each individually experience the earth differently. But like Steve said, if we can have the compassion for ourselves first and know what that feels like and honor that, then we can find the compassion to go outside of ourselves to the unifying force, which is the earth and all the other beings, plants, animals, and people that are on this planet. But if we do that without reverence and respect for we are part of the whole as well, it makes it much more challenging to move from me to we. Because you either get stuck in the me, in ego and separatism, or you get lost in the we and you're not part of it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be successful in all the activities that we do, because we're conditioned, I think, at least in this country, to work outside of ourselves and not spend a whole lot of time. If we have a pain, we want to reject it. I need to do something to get rid of that pain. Well, what I've uncovered is that pain is information for you. And with No Judgment, Just Love, I invite people to look for their GPS, which is their greatest personal shift that will direct you into yourself to uncover what was that pain trying to tell you? Where was it trying to help you? Because everything you feel is meant for you, not to you. And we often look at things as, why did this happen to me? Which causes extreme judgment and inability to move forward and see us as a whole. So how have I experienced this otherwise? I just finished a collaborative workshop on mitigating racism and creating the beloved community. And the 5 of us who were the co-facilitators worked very hard, and we were of different generations, different races, different cultures, different genders. And we all came to this topic of mitigating racism from a different, individual, unique, should be respected place. Because many times we did not agree because our experiences with that topic were different. And your experiences are feelings that stay in your cells, that inform your perspective, that govern how you speak with others and how you don't listen or can't listen to others. So for me, language is important because the definition of unity is 8.5 billion different definitions. So in this racism mitigating space, we found women that were in their 80s, white, joyful that they had no idea that they were not treating people fairly. Because unlike the golden rule, which says, treat others how you would like to be treated, or speak to others how you would like to be spoken to, that's harmful if that way that you speak does not honor and acknowledge the other person may be different. So I invite people to use the platinum rule, which is speak and treat others the way they would like to be spoken and treated, because that requires a little effort. You have to learn who they are if they're close to you. And if they're not close to you, under no judgment, just love, you just allow and let them be. You don't need to understand, figure it out, because that will lead you to some harsh judgments that do more harm than good. So I am imbued. Every year we have a conversation about unity, because it reminds me that unity doesn't mean we are unified in one space. We are unified in our collective individuality. And if you can see everyone's value and then uncover who you can work closely with and who you can allow to move in a different direction and not feel like you lost, just feel like you gained. So thank you, Rick, for letting me continue to be the leader person chair of this campaign and for this conversation.
Well, thank you. And I'm moved by each of yours and Steve's and Audrey's. I'm just really moved by everybody's comments. So now, can we have a call to action? What could people do to take action, and what are you calling? Please feel free to respond to anything that anyone has said up to this point.
So thank you so much for the call to action ideas, Rick, because it is important that we also be able to understand how we can participate in our daily lives, for where we are is the holy ground, and we must be able to find ourselves here. And what ShaRon was sharing is not opposite from what I was sharing. I think we understand that in order to have the picture of the whole, we do have to work on ourselves first. So finding ourselves and knowing where we stand in the world is very important. And, it does take courage to turn the searchlight inward, to have the ceaseless, fearless self-examination, to understand ourselves more deeply through self-awareness and insight. So the call to action would be to have courage, because to live life and to have the courage to turn that searchlight inward, to see ourselves more clearly and to understand ourselves, and ultimately to have that self-realization is ultimately our purpose in life. And it does take courage to be able to reach across the table and to be able to open a dialogue in contentious situations without losing yourself. So dialogue is not about asserting our own position, but it's about helping others to understand different points of view. So you can actually step into the worldview of the other. So dialogue helps to demonstrate respect and transcends differences and can help to bring people together. And at all times, it marks the beginning of our own inward journey to find ourselves and the connection to the divine source and to reach the understanding that we are truly all interconnected. And hurting or harming ourselves or anyone else hurts and harms everyone, because we are, part and parcel of the undifferentiated, unified whole in the highest sense of the word. And we have to honestly and diligently review our values. For our own moral and ethical principles are based on deeply held core values, and values do provide the important foundational guidelines for how we live our lives and what decisions we make. Ultimately, it does require a humble heart, because humility fosters empathy, compassion, and connection. And when we drop arrogance and self absorption, we are more attuned to the feelings and needs of others. Now, humility is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it reflects our own inner strength and confidence. A humble person doesn't need to dominate or be right, and does promote communication, understanding, and connection. And we should study and learn various sources of knowledge, including indigenous wisdom and the shared traditions and values of the different faith traditions. And we should also live sustainably and support sustainability actions, which means implementing sustainability measures in our own homes and institutions to reduce the environmental impact, and engaging in dialogue and cooperation and shared best practices, resources, and experiences in and of themselves requires our ability to be able to hold on to who you are as a person while engaging across the table and bridging divides. So participating in environmental movements and campaigns, supporting community efforts can also help us to grow in individual awareness and maximize our ability to be able to be global citizens and to learn the causes and consequences, for example, of climate change and our place in the world to live life with meaning and purpose. Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you, Audrey. And Steve.
Yes, Audrey and ShaRon, yeah, let me say too, pleasure to be here with you all on this panel. And of course, Rick and We the World. Yes, my call to action here would be to an exquisite life. Okay, an exquisite life, because where we see this unity, this oneness that we're talking about, which spiritualists, of course, say love and light and life, right, are at the center. But now, interestingly, scientists, if we could go down the list here, back to Albert Einstein and contemporaries, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Lynn McTaggart, Nassim Haramein, right? They're saying, oh boy, did we get it wrong, with the Newtonian Darwinian thing. It's not that, right? That actually the scientists are saying, no, it's collaboration, it's harmony, it is not competition. It is not. So this is what spirituality down through the ages has shared, and now science is affirming that this is what this one or we or unity is. So this is the exquisite life. Because I was a technology executive in Silicon Valley, not living the exquisite life in the 90s. And then I had my own conscious awakening moment, which we probably all of us have had. And this was everything kind of shifted under my feet. And it's been an unfolding thing, which is still unfolding now. But as this unfolding thing is where it became an inside out life instead of an outside in life. The outside in was, all the things that are toxic out there I'd see and live into, and they deeply affect me, even my sleep, right? Well, now, of course, in our conscious life, it's we have a daily practice. It's important. It's really throughout our day, and we live in this. I'll call it communing with the one. We can call the divine or nature or something, but communing with that high vibration space. And then we put intention on top of that. A lot of times, metaphysics and affirmations and these things, and then we really find this inner thing is happening that, oh my gosh, it feels so good. It's like instead of that roller coaster where I was outside in, oh, this is a bad day, this is a good day. Now it's more, I still have all the same challenges, sometimes more, but it's more like floating on a raft because it's kind of a high vibration thing where I'm in that communing space. This is the exquisite thing. And even opening your heart and being in service, with your coworkers and things, and of course your family, and but even neighbors, the grocery store clerk and things, to the best of your ability. I find that it feels so good. And actually, I realized as I've studied the science of, now we're 21 years in with humanities team, so we're kind of like we the world here, and I believe, in looking at all the research, we're actually made this way. We are made as part of the one. And it's too bad we grew up, unless we grew up as a Sufi, and I don't know anybody that did, but, we grow up with this whole Newtonian Darwinian thing, and the outside in thing, and the tunnel vision, where there's all this broken glass as we're trying to get ours, achieve our I success. And as you let that go, and embrace these new understandings, these new beliefs, this new self-identification. I'm part of this greater whole. That's the bigger me. That it's so, oh my gosh, it is an exquisite life, and we can live it from any home on the planet, And of course, my particular nonprofit humanities team, we're devoted to education, because education is one of the most powerful tools for social change. So we have all of the so many hundreds of people that have created these beautiful programs that are about this, raising consciousness, growing into this one, this unity, this we. And we just want to get it into everybody's home. We give away half of them. It's a paid subscription creates a free subscription. And we want it in everybody's home, so we all live the exquisite life. And as I mentioned, it's not just us individually. We heal ourselves, we heal the planet. We heal the planet, we heal ourselves. Why? There's oneness, there's unity, there's we here.
Thank you, Steve. And ShaRon. And then we'll hear from Jana as
Yes. Congratulations, Steve, 21 years. Not a competition, a collaboration between you and Rick.
Absolutely. He's a brother.
Thank you, Audrey. We are kindred, I believe, saying similar things in very particular and unique and impactful ways. And I am always so happy when I'm in a panel with you. The call to action from me as the founder of No Judgment, Just Love is simply challenging for some and simply easy, hopefully, for others. And that is to listen. To listen to yourself. What are you saying to yourself in your head? How is that affecting your behavior and your interaction in the we consciousness? In the acknowledgement and respect that you matter. In the uncovering that there is more to you and it will always be changing, as well as the earth and other people. So to have allowance for the change. So my call to action is to listen under the space of no judgment, just love, which is, of course, we judge all the time. We're human. But when you make that judgment, take a pause and decide what you will do next, even if that's nothing at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, ShaRon. And Jana, do you want to react to anything that anybody has said? And what is your call to action?
Well, Rick, thank you for having me come after all these profoundly articulate people to see if there's anything that I could possibly add. And I will just say that every day I pray that I can be the best person that I can be and to do the best that I can at any given moment, given that day. And to keep hope alive because I think there's always room for hope. And I choose to look on the positive side because I think it's just as true, if not more true, as looking on the pessimistic side. So that's what I do, keep hope alive and keep smiling and keep going on and working with We the World.
Well, you're
That's my
making,
profound thought.
yeah, no, you're making it all happen, and thank you.
Are
So,
you going to say something then, Rick? Or
well, my call to action is really to do something, right? And the amazing thing with We the World is we have so many tools and ways that people can do something. We have the 11 themes and the 11 campaigns. And it's interesting because it's almost like a deception a little bit that, you have to pick one of these 11 themes like unity and environment and, so, but that's because people are attracted to in certain things, could be economic justice or children and youth. I mean, people are attracted to things, but in reality, you are entering the field of we, which is this kind of expansive concept that all all of us have been talking about. So it's a little bit of a deception, but it works because once you let's say you're interested in the environment and you start doing it, you realize that the environment is connected to disarmament and it's connected to women and it's connected to health. And you can go down the list. So it's like a pathway that leads you to all of reality in a sense. So thanks for asking. I didn't think of it think about it
well, it was
in
very
advance.
brilliant and profound, and that's exactly what attracted me to We the World was because I was thinking of starting a movement, and then I found out about you, and then I thought, oh, this is it. I don't have to start one; it's already started.
Well, we're part of a movement of movements. Actually, it's
Yes,
a movement of movements because we have everybody on this uh, session in this panel are part of movements that they've helped to make. And so it's a movement of movements.
that's right.
Thank
Well,
you.
and thank
And thank
you.
everybody.
Thank you all so much for what you are doing in the world. This has really been amazing. And thank all of you for watching this and for being a part of the 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity. Please go to we.net to get involved and even make a contribution if you want. Thank you.
So this has been amazing and incredible and wonderful. Um, and thank you for being part of 11 Days of Global Unity and the 20th Anniversary Summit. So it's all about we, right? This is the W. Um, so let's go from being a me society. That's where it starts, right, ShaRon? With me, and then going to a we society. That's why we launched we.net. So together we can recreate a world that works for all. Thank you so much. And I love you all. Thank you.